Very good afternoon to everyone. So today I'll be doing the analysis of the review 22nd of September. So this is the front news and okay, so you must have a little bit idea about the visa service that was paused uh, amid the Canada tussle. So now, what is all issue behind this? So by the Indian government and why this issue has been there. So the normal functioning of Indian missions in Canada has been affected because of security threats that was faced by the Indian diplomats, and they are therefore temporarily unable to issue visas. The Ministry of External Affairs has announced this. So the reason being the security threats faced by the Indian diplomats. Now he urged Canada to uphold the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations by ensuring safety of Indian diplomats. So if you see, the reason is primarily the safety of Indian diplomats. Okay, so let me take you to page number 4 and 14. Okay, so suspension of visa facility in India missions in Canada and will be also be enforced on the third country applicants who may choose to apply for visa through Indian missions in Canada. Now, what you need to know is the reason behind it. Then the Canada mission also reminded India to uphold the diplomatic code of conduct as enshrined in Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961. So they have talked about diplomatic code of conduct. This is enshrined in Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961. So the Canadian side did not confirm, and what is happening is that you should have the informed Canadian government that there should be parity in strength and rank equivalence in our mutual diplomatic presence. So you need to know about the Vienna Convention. Need to know about the diplomatic code of conduct. You must know about why the tussle has taken place. It is because of the security threats to our diplomats. Fine. Now, let's move on to the another article. The other article says Supreme Court refuses to intervene in order directing Karnataka to release Cauvery Water to Tamil Nadu. So what is happening is Supreme Court has refused to intervene in order directing Karnataka to release Cauvery Water to Tamil Nadu. So what is the issue behind? That means Karnataka is not releasing Cauvery water to Tamil Nadu. So the issue lies behind the release of Cauvery water to which Supreme Court has refused. So it refused to intervene. So if Supreme Court is refusing to intervene, now the question arises: how is the dispute going to get resolved? So the Supreme Court on Thursday refused to intervene either in the favor of Karnataka or Tamil Nadu in the Cauvery water disputes. Instead, it banged on the combined expertise of Cauvery Water Regulation Committee, that is CWRC, and the Cauvery Water Management Authority, that is CWMA, to manage the water sharing between the two neighboring states. So the CWC had earlier directed Karnataka to release 5,000 cusecs a day to Tamil Nadu. The three-judge bench headed by B.R. Gawai said the CWMA, that is Cauvery Water Management Authority, and the Cauvery Water Regulation Committee, this was represented by Additional Solicitor General. So now the thing is, let's move on to the 14th page. Okay, so they had turned what the order that Karnataka has to ensure Cauvery water release from the Krishna Raj Sagar and Kabini reservoirs. So they are talking about two reservoirs. One is your Krishna Raja Sagar and Kabini reservoir. So put together so that the flows were released at very good news. Now, if the Supreme Court has refused to intervene in the release of water, so what is happening is that this CWMA, that is Cauvery Water Management Authority, and the Cauvery Water Regulation Committee have to look upon to the matter. So what you need to know is what is the tussle between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu government. What was the order issued? What are the reservoirs that are in place? And why is Supreme Court not intervening? And if Supreme Court is not intervening, then who is to resolve the issue? Okay, so these are things that need to be addressed in this article. Let's move on to the other one. Okay, so there is this news in brief here. It says CM unveils the statue of Oneness in Omkareshwar. So, where it is Madhya Pradesh CM on Thursday unveiled the gigantic statue of Adi Guru Shankaracharya. Now, a gigantic statue of Adi Guru Shankaracharya on Omkareshwar in Kanwa district, called the Ik Mata Ki Murti. So this is called what? Ik Mata Ki Murti. And this is known as what? Statue of Oneness. Now, this is 10 feet tall statue portrays the 8th century Indian philosopher and theologian who consolidated the doctrine of Advait Vedanta. So, you should know that Adi Guru Shankaracharya did what? So, the doctrine of Advait Vedanta. The unveiling is part of the ambitious Ekatma Dham project of the state government and marks the initiation of its first phase. So the government wants to develop it along the lines of Mahakal Lock corridor as a major destination for spiritual religious tourism. So what is coming as the spiritual religious tourism is your Mahakal Lok corridor. So this is important with respect to your prelims part and also with respect to the culture aspect because they are talking about your spiritual religious tourism. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. This is also regarding the Cauvery water management only, which we have done. The next article is there in page number 6, and this talks about new Pamban may miss its November deadline. New Pamban Bridge. So the new Pamban railway sea bridge being built to connect Mandapam town on the mainland with Rameshwaram on the Pamban island of Tamil Nadu. So if you see, there are two places. One is your Mandapam town on the mainland with Rameshwaram on the Pamban island in Tamil Nadu. So you have one town here that is Mandapam town, and this there is connectivity with Rameshwaram, and Rameshwaram is where in the Pamban Island, Tamil Nadu, and the bridge is your new Pamban Bridge. So the news says that this might not get ready by November, as the railway officials have said. And what could be the reason behind so? So the bridge is under construction since 2019, and after missing earlier deadlines in March and July this year, railway officials say they may not be able to finish the challenging project. Now, there are 99 horizontal spans of bridge. Now, this is all the physical architecture of the bridge they are talking about. Other than that, what is the reason behind the bridge not being built or the issues we are facing in getting it just covered within the deadline? So they say that the new bridge is being built over geographically challenging terrain as it is located in a corrosive marine environment which is also cyclone prone and is a high wind velocity zone. So if you see, they are saying that the bridge is what it is is being built at a terrain which is geographically challenging. So the bridge is built over geographically challenging terrain. Okay. So now if it is built over geographically challenging terrain, so what are the issues that they are going to face over here? So the marine, it is located in a corrosive marine environment. Now this is cyclone prone and is a high wind velocity zone. So the railway bridge connects the mainland to Rameshwaram, the South Indian town, which is one of the four Char Dham pilgrimage sites, along with. Now you must know about the Char Dham pilgrim site. Why? Because it is important with respect to the cultural aspect. Okay, so first you need to know about the Char Dham site. So, as it says that it is one of those Char Dham sites, that means which place? Your Rameshwaram. So, Rameshwaram in south is your one of the Char Dham sites. Then Badrinath in north is one of those. Dwarka in west, and Puri in the east. Okay, so these are your four places. North में Badrinath, south में it's Rameshwaram, east में it's Puri. Puri is your Jagannath Puri, and west में it's Dwarka. So these are your Chardham sites, important. Now the bridge is being built by whatever company, it is not required. Now it will replace the old Pamban Bridge, which is over centuries old. Now, if you see, the bridge is built alongside the railway bridge. That means you are having the new construction site as well as the old one. Okay, so this is what you need to know about the new Pamban Bridge. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the article says the promise of a Ponzi scheme, and why this has came into news. So it says that an investment plan that allegedly due 2 lakh customers was floated by a man who drew upon money from people in a small town in India. Now, if you see, why is or what is this Ponzi scheme? And the person has allegedly duped people out of it. So for this, you should know about Ponzi scheme. You don't need to do the entire article. If you want, you can have it as a case study in case you require it in your GS paper or in your optional paper for answer writing. So case study ke liye you can read it out. But then let's see what is a Ponzi scheme. So what is a Ponzi scheme? Now, a Ponzi scheme में क्या है? An actor faces scrutiny over his alleged involvement in a rupees 1,000 crore Ponzi scheme with 2 lakh investors. A Ponzi scheme is what? It is a type of investment fraud that promises high returns with little or no risk to investors. So, this is a kind of a scheme, or you can say a type of investment. Scheme or investment, and कैसा है ये? It is a kind of fraud. Why? Because this promises what? High returns. High returns, and see, now if any of the schemes, or if any of the investments for that matter, is promising you high returns, so they also give you a declaration that there are high chances that you might go under risk also. But what does this scheme, or the person who is using this scheme to do people would say that there is high return there, but there will be little or absolutely no risk to investors. Fine. So when there is little or no risk to investors, These are investment operations that pay returns to old investors from the money garnered from new investors. So it is named like what, from where does this scheme came into place? So it is named after Charles Ponzi, an Italian businessman who ran such a scheme in 1920. So Ponzi scheme do not fall under the regulatory purview of SEBI, that is your Securities and Exchange Board of India. So it is not falling under any of the regulatory purviews of SEBI. Now, in India, Ponzi schemes are banned, point to be noted, banned under the Banning of Unregulated Deposit Scheme Act 2019, Price Chit and Money Circulation Schemes Banning Act 1978. So, the two acts that regulate your banning of Ponzi scheme. And what are those? One is your Banning of Unregulated Deposit Scheme Act, and other one is your Price Chit and Money Circulation Schemes Banning Act 1978. Fine. So this is important with respect to your Indian economy. Why? Because now they have said that Ponzi scheme is being operated by some of the people to dupe the others, allegedly. So Ponzi scheme. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so you have got this article of silent killer in the editorial section, page number 10. This says that India must get more people to keep blood pressure under control. So, what is, or what are they talking about? Now, globally, hypertension affects 1 in 3 individuals and 4 out of 5 do not have it adequately controlled. Now, according to WHO, World Health Organization report on hypertension released on September 19, it is a grim reminder that countries have done little to keep the biggest risk factor for death and disability under check. Uncontrolled blood pressure is the main risk factor for cardiovascular diseases such as heart attack, stroke, and the most common cause of disease and death. It is important to note that the health risks associated with hypertension do not begin at over 140/90. Instead, they operate in a continuum even below. So, what is happening is that if you see, the WHO has reported hypertension report, and it is saying that countries have contributed really less to keep this risk factor for death disabled. That means a lot of contribution is required, and the efforts that are made are not sufficient. So, in the WHO report, that relied on 2019 data, 188 million Indians adults aging this have hypertension. So if you see, the age is 30 to 79. So you can't say it is an age-old effect, or for aging population, because the 30 plus are also under risk, and it requires rental serious concern. Of them, the condition has been diagnosed only in 37-30% and treated, and a meager 15% of people have hypertension under control. Now, women appear to be marginally better than men in having the condition diagnosed, treated, and controlled. So, women have an improved scenario. Based on the data from parts of the India, stroke incidence was found to be 108 per 172 per 1 lakh people per year. So now what has the studies said? So studies have shown that excess salt consumption is responsible for 17 to 30% of hypertension. So one reason is your salt consumption. While member states are required to achieve 30% relative reduction in mean population, India has yet to implement many components of WHO's prescription to cut down salt intake. A study in 4 Indian states published in 2021, what have they said? They found high salt and sugar content in packaged food items. So your packaged food items are having what? Excess of salt and sugar content. Now, this making front of pack nutrition labeling mandatory, encouraging reformulation of foods to cut down salt, and raising awareness in people to reduce salt intake should be urgently undertaken. Now, further moving, they are saying what hypertension control initiative launched in 2018. Now, the IHC, that means your India's Hypertension Control Initiative, has successfully enrolled how many? 5.8 million hypertensive patients for treatment in 27 states. So, if you see the number says that 5.8 million people, that these people reported and coming from 27 states. Now, importantly, one second. Importantly, 48% of patients enrolled at primary health centers, 55% of health wellness center achieved blood pressure control. Now, it is now important to greatly increase the number of hypertensive people on treatment and keep blood pressure under control. So that means if they are addressing it here, that means they are addressing hypertension as silent killer. So that means that it requires a serious study over it. So this is a serious concern, hypertension. Okay. Now let's move on to the next article. Okay, we need to do this editorial also, but let me do first all the small articles so that and maybe we could discuss this. Okay, if I move on to page number 16, the page number 16 says China, US, and India. They are absent at UN's Climate Ambition Summit. Now, if you see, the representatives are coming from 34 states and 7 institutions were given the floor on the day at summit. So all the G20 governments will be asked to commit to presenting by 2025 more ambitious economy-wide, nationally determined contribution, that is your NDC. Fine. So if I go about now, the Climate Ambition Summit in New York as part of United Nations General Assembly that concluded on Thursday was marked by the absence of major economies whose action significantly influence the future of global mission. Now, who are those countries? So one is China, US, and India, which collectively account for about 42% of global greenhouse gas emission and are the top 3 emitters in that order. That means your these 3 countries, China, US, and India, which collectively account for 42% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, are the top 3 emitters in that order, were all absent from the summit that was designed, according to UN, to showcase leaders who are movers and doers and have credible actions, policies, and plans to keep 1.5 degrees Celsius goal of the Paris Agreement alive. That means your Paris Agreement, the goal of Paris Agreement was what? To keep 1.5 degree Celsius goal of what? in order to check the temperature of the earth. So the goal is to reduce this temperature, that is the increasing temperature of the earth, by 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that is what they are saying, that the policies and plans to keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal of the Paris Agreement alive and deliver the climate justice. So they are also talking about the climate justice system. Now, climate justice to those on the front line of the climate crisis. Now, in the run up, what they are saying is that however, only representatives from 34 states and 7 institutions were given the floor on the day of the summit. India's neighbor, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan were among the listed speakers, and emerging economies such as South Africa and Brazil were also on the list. So, the European Union, Germany, France, Canada were also on the podium. The criteria for countries to be considered for a speaking slot at the summit were that they would be expected to present update. Now, nationally determined contributions, as updated now, net zero targets, energy transition plans with commitments to no new coal, oil and gas, fossil fuel phase out plans, more ambitious renewable energy targets, green climate fund pledges, and economy wide plans on adaptation and resilience. So they are talking about what the NDCs, that is nationally determined contributions, that was promised in the time of Glasgow. And what were those? These are your plans. Now, all the main emitters and notably all G20 governments would be asked to commit to presenting by 2020 more ambitious economy-wide nationally determined contributions. Now, the Climate Ambition Summit this year set a high bar for participation. Now, what else they are talking about? To reach the net zero in line with UN backed credibility. So you need to know about that. Why the three countries were absent? What is the Paris Agreement? What do you understand by the climate justice system? And then you should also know about NDC, that is your nationally determined contributions. Now, what are the climate solutions? The government committed to 1 minute. Okay, so the government committed to meet 50% of its electric power needs from renewable, non-fossil fuel energy resources, up from 40% committed at the Paris Agreement. Now, it promised to create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 million tons of CO2 equivalent through additional forest and tree cover. That means they are talking about what? You have to contribute towards what? Development of carbon sink. That means the excess of carbon that is there in environment, that required to be synced, and for that you require what? Forests. Our focus here is on climate solution, and our task is urgent. Humanity has opened the gates to health. So this, if you want, you can quote it, and in case if you are writing any essay, fine. Now, if nothing changes, we are heading towards a 2.8-degree temperature rise, towards a dangerous and a unstable world. So they are saying that, see, in Paris Agreement, we were having this clause of reduction by 1.5 degrees, reducing the temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius. And here, what they are saying is that if nothing changes, that means if there is no contribution from the people or the countries, then what is going to happen? That then we'll end up raising the temperature of the earth by 2.8 degree Celsius, which will make us head towards a more dangerous and unstable world. Okay, so this was there. There's one article that we need to do is okay. So light bulb moment for Indian fan market. Now, what is this article about? So the article talks about the LED revolution. Fine. So how is this going to happen? So even in human now, what is happening is the ceiling fan market is undergoing a churn too, driven by the policy imperative. So what they are talking about is the policy imperative driving the change in the fan market is energy transition award. So India's goal of reducing harmful emissions per unit of GDP by 45% relative to 2005. So household accounts for nearly a third of all electricity. A third of all electricity that is consumed in India, and ceiling fans used by 90% of the households as per a Council on Energy, Environment and Water survey of 2020. So the report is drafted by CEW now represents that about a quarter of household electricity consumption. The Indian Cooling Action Plan, that is ICAP, the Indian Cooling Action Plan projects that number of fans in use in India could grow to a million by 2038 from 500 million now as income grow along with average temperature. Now, what is the star rating program? So they are saying that given the importance of fans, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, that is BEE, India's energy efficiency regulator under the Union Ministry of Power, made the standards and labeling program, popularly known as the star rating program, mandatory for ceiling fans in May 2022. That means the star rating is mandatory. So this was the long-awaited shift from voluntary program implemented in 2009, but the five-star fans cost twice. The five-star fan cost twice as much as the typical unrated fans. Not a small barrier to adoption in India's price sensitive market. To tackle this, EESL, that is your Energy Efficiency Service Limited, is planning a demand aggregation program to sell 10 million five-star ceiling fans. So if you see, the target is what? To sell close to 10 million five-star. That means the energy consumption would reduce. So five-star ceiling fans. The program hopes to transform the fan market much like it did for LED lamps. Under the famous Unnat Jyoti by Affordable LEDs for All program, that means your Ujala Yojna. Now, what is the Ujala Yojna talking about? So, the Ujala Yojna, yeah, that is your Ujala program, was launched in 2015. This helped to reduce the price of LED lamps from 400 to rupees 90 in a span of 3 to 4 years. But ceiling fans are a more complex appliance than LEDs. Now, there are four measures for a sustainable and beneficial transformation of the fans market. Now, steps to transformation. So, how would the transformation happen? First, maintain a technology agnostic policy. Demand aggregation is most effective when a single technology specification is procured in bulk. Now, in the case of LEDs, it was 9-watt white light LED bulb. That means the strategy talks about the 9-watt white light LED bulb, but fans have a wider spectrum of technology, each with its own trade-off. A policy that covers more than one specification would be more cost-effective in the long run. A typical ceiling fan uses the time-tested induction motor, which is rushed but may have limits on energy performance. So now, what else? You don't need to know about this. Now they are saying that as BE's regulation change kickstarts innovation, demand aggregations under a technology agnostic policy must let the manufacturer offer different technology. Now, if you see what is happening is, if you are wanting this five-star rated products, now what? How would the demand going to happen? And most importantly, what will be the price margin for that? So now the these regulations are very much clear. So how are the manufacturers going to tackle it? So the second thing that they are talking about is manage the balance between price reduction and quality. This is exactly what I just said. Ki, you have just decided the parameters, but based on which how the manufacturers are going to take on to the price reduction and the quality. That means the maintenance of the quality and also the price is very important in order to see the demand of the market. The Ujala program led to lower quality products entering the market with higher value, higher failure rates. So, lower quality products entering the market. Now, a 2019 study found that half the LED brands were non-compliant with safety standards. That means the safety standards were compromised. Low quality products could lead to a deficit of consumers' trust in the new technology. Now, what else? Boosting domestic manufacture. The third says that foster high quality domestic manufacturing capacity for high efficiency fans. While the growth of the LED market spanned new manufacturers and brands, India arguably missed the bus on maintaining the quality of local manufacturing and reducing import dependence. So, if you see the writers or the authors are talking about somewhere being lagging with respect to what manufacturing of their own product. So, why or in like what are the reason? The reason being the quality issues. They are not able to provide the best of best quality, and our import dependency has certainly not decreased. So we are having what import dependency. Now, the next thing what they are saying is that India already exported about 5 million fans in 2021, primarily to UAE, China, Ghana, Sri Lanka, Sudan, and Iraq. As more countries enforce minimum energy performance standards for fans, Indian quality and performance standards must be updated to align with international law that manufacturers are competitive. So, the authors are talking about what? The rise in the standards of our product. That means quality product should be there so as to ensure competition in international market. And finally, dedicated resources to strengthening the standards and labeling provide at least 30% of the Indian ceiling fans market may be unorganized. This segment is likely to be a late adopter of this technology. Now, BE and its state designated energy must use their market monitoring powers to ensure that products with authentic energy performance labels reach consumer non-compliant models. Now, fans are undergoing their first major phase of disruption in this regards. Energy efficiency fans can not only help the vulnerable population get access to critical services for coping with events of extreme heat and low electricity bill, but also they are talking about that central to India's clean energy transition and can play a part in its economic growth. So they are also talking about that such product will be very efficient for who? The vulnerable population. Again, it will help in tackling the extreme heat situation and would also provide energy transition. Okay, so this was for today, and quite many articles were there. Very important from prelims perspective also and from mains perspective also, especially this one. There was a lot of Ujala Yojna talking about over here. So thank you so much.